Scott McMahan from the Atlanta Botanic Garden. So my first question is, you prefer to be known as a seed collector than a plant collector. What are you advocating and rejecting through these terms?
Well, I think many times the plants that we find in the wild, especially with the endangered species that we work with, are, in many cases, there are not many of these plants left. So rather than collecting the actual plant, we get much more benefit from collecting the seed, and the variation in the genetic diversity that occurs in the seed helps us, I think, preserve the species. If we were to just find these endangered species and dig them out of the wild, that's one less plant basically that will remain in bloom and then begin to propagate itself in the wild. So we really encourage when we're out with our local hosts to rather than collect the actual plant itself, we try to encourage the benefits of collecting the seed and the genetic diversity that is found within each seed. Also, when you collect just one plant, you have one bit of germplasm, and from there you must propagate, and it takes a long time to do this. So when you collect a small seed capsule, or you collect 10 or 15 seed off this plant, then you can take them back to your nursery or garden and germinate them, and you have, again, the diversity is great. When we're dealing with rare and endangered plants, we don't want to continually clone them genetically. We want the more diversity we have, the better chance for longevity and survival in the long term.
Sure. In your seed scouting expeditions, what measures do you engage with while transporting seeds from one climatic region to another?
Over the years, we have tried many different things in transporting the seed. Typically, the worst thing you can do is let the seed dry out. It's very important to keep moisture in the seed, while at the same time making sure that fungus and other insects and diseases do not occur during the transition period from the forest back to either the garden or the nursery that we're working with.
Scouting and preserving rare plant species is a mammoth task in itself. Is the environment evil of climate change impeding their growth and reach?
I think, in my experience, I think climate change certainly is affecting things, but it is affecting things on a much smaller scale than man is affecting things. Our biggest problem is reforestation, or deforestation, I should say, and the destruction of the natural habitat of these plants.
Is selling unusual seed specimens that have been collected from dense jungles and treacherous mountains an emotional process? And how do you relate to that experience?
Well, I've been doing this for almost 20 years now, and every expedition has a story. There's good stories, there's terrifying stories, and so every time we do sell a plant, or every time I take this, the germinated seed from the little seed tray that we grow it on into and step it up, I'm reminded of these stories every time. And I do a lot of lecturing back in the United States about our expeditions and about the beautiful scenery that we see, and these stories that we tell, and inevitably everyone wants to know about the bad things that happen. But and so it is an emotional experience to market these plants and sell these plants and explain to the people how they have come to be into the marketplace, rather than just as an endangered or rare plant out in the jungle. So it's a very long process. And it is indeed an emotional one. Every time I sell the plant or tell a customer a story of this plant, I'm reminded of the joys and the dangers, really, of collecting it in the wild.